Okay, friends, we're going to start in a supported fish pose using a bolster and a blanket. If you don't have a bolster at home, you can use a pile of pillows or you could put a blanket on top of some blocks. But bolster's ideal, especially if you're, developing a really consistent home practice. Okay. So the bolster is positioned lengthwise on your mat, and you can have the blanket handy to support your head. And we're going to do what's called the scap trap here. So the bottom tips of your shoulder blades are at the top edge of this bolster. So you'll sit on the bolster and have your feet planted and lie back in such a way that the chest is lifted and the shoulders are dropping. And then you don't necessarily need a blanket, but we're not trying to get that decapitation kind of feel. So maybe a little blanket would be good. So there's a little bit of a chin tuck. So it's more about opening the chest than opening the neck. You can fiddle. What's always nice about the blanket is you can adjust the height. So starting with feet planted and arms to a T, make sure you have this nice lift through the chest. The mistake most people make is that they end up on the bolster with just their head hanging off, and that's just a different approach that we're not going for today. So just letting your shoulders drop, you can rotate arms so that palms face up and feel this kind of scooping of the shoulder blades down, chest rising. If this is too much on the bolster, you could create the same shape with a pile of blankets instead. You have more room, more options for customizing the height. So arms can be out to a T, or mine just kind of fell into this kind of open cactus. The arms are down alongside the body. It's gentler on the shoulders. And if they're wider, up to a T or cactus, we're getting more expansion through the chest and the shoulders, and also more space for breath in the lungs, the rib cage. Breathe into the sides of the torso especially. And the breath is probably more focused, just like the whole shape is more focused on the front body. So see if you can bring the breath a little more into the back ribs. And you can stay right here or extend the legs straight with your heels on the ground. Feet don't have to be together. For me, that kind of feels jamming in my back. So I take my feet a little wider than the hips, but legs active here. So rather than just draping, drooping, dropping, we're active. This isn't a yin practice that we are embarking upon. So toes point up, knees point up. You can push through the heels if you want, and flex the feet a little bit. So there's a little more energy through the legs. If you want to work a little bit more and help to support and stabilize the back, you can engage your glute muscles. So you're supported, but you can still engage. And then maybe taking the hands to the elbows up around the head. So there's this opportunity to kind of walk the spine away from the pelvis and actively reach through the elbows in one direction and the heels in the opposite direction. Still breathing into, of course, front body, but also sides and back, ribs. Let's take several more breaths here, focusing on noticing sensation and slow, steady breath. If you want to stay longer, you can just hit the pause button. That's feeling really good for me. So this shape would be really therapeutic and helpful if you are sitting a lot during the day, because we're kind of going the opposite way. So you can gradually plant your feet if you straightened your legs, and then carefully roll off to the side off of the platform of the bolster, and then use your hands to press up. And from here, we'll move the bolster aside. And come to all fours. So as you position yourself in tabletop, have your wrists right beneath your shoulders. The fingers are spread. For the vast majority of us, it's going to be better to have that wide base of support. The knees shied in. Actually, we're gonna flow here. So you can have knees underneath hips, or a little bit shied in would be our cat cow setup, but we're gonna do cow dog. So right away you can start pushing the floor away with your hands and dialing your hands outward. So they're not actually gonna move, but get that action of that movement gripping into the mat. And then as you inhale, come into cow pose, but initiate from the pelvis. So first lifting the tailbone, and then moving through each spine to arch. You don't have to go big, deep into this. And the shoulders can kind of draw down away from the ears. And then if the head moves, it lifts last, but try not to just crank the head all the way back. And then toes are tucked under here. Exhale from the belly, lift up to downward facing dog from the lower belly. With your inhalation, bring the knees down gently, lightly at the same exact time, and then start to tilt the pelvis forward, finding your back bend from root to crown. Exhale from the belly, lift up to down dog. You can keep knees bent here. So if you're rounding it all, or you're feeling a ton of sensation in your hamstrings, just do yourself a favor and bend your knees. Continuing. Inhaling when it works for your flow into cow pose. Exhale, push the floor away. Hands are dialing outward, and we're not pushing the chest down toward the floor in down dog. Please don't do that. You can let your head hang. It's just not a good idea for the shoulders. A couple more times. Inhaling to the back bend or spinal extension. And exhaling back to dog. And then the next time you end up in downward facing dog, you can walk your feet forward to come into standing forward bend. It's Dhanurasana. Here we go. And catch the wave of an inhalation to rise. Arms can sweep up. Exhaling, hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward hands. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift about halfway, Urdhva Dhanurasana. We take all rounding out of the back here. Stepping back to plank pose. You could take knees down to the ground first, especially early in our practice. Elbows draw back, elbows reach back toward the foot edge of your mat as you lower down. Let's keep toes tucked under, engage your glutes, root the pelvis from the pelvis, and keep drawing the elbows back, and elbows are in toward the body in cobra. So we still have this dialing outward kind of sensation in the hands. You could hollow the belly away from the floor. Might not lift up as much, but happier back for sure. And then if you want to go deeper, the hands don't just push straight down. They push down with this backward sliding energy without them moving. And the chest rises up. Maybe a little bit more forward and up through the chest. From the belly, low belly, lift up and back, downward facing dog. Keep the hips level and go slow into three-legged dog. So really intentional movement. Keep pushing the floor away with your hands. And then place the right foot between the hands. We shift forward, we keep the hips high, we hug the leg in, and we try to place the foot rather than swinging it. Do the best you can. And then we'll step the left foot in a little bit and rise up for a little pyramid work. So dragging this front foot back or scissoring the hip action, turning this left glute on. Bring your arms up alongside your ears. Keep pulling your right hip back as you hinge and fold just about halfway. So keeping the arms in line with the ears, not letting the head drop, not letting the arms drop. And then feel free to bend this front knee, push the floor away, rise up. Confirm that scissoring action through the hips, from the legs, from the feet, from the floor. Exhaling, fold, halfway. Keep going here a few more times. So as you hinge forward, there's a backward reaching energy or intention through the hips and a forward reaching energy through the arms. Not engaged. Inner thighs active. Big toe down. Come up one more time. This time, if you want, you can use blocks either side of your front foot, or you can bring your hands to your hips and draw the elbows back, or you can bring your fists together, or hands in prayer. Feeling the shape established from your feet, up through your legs, up through your hips. Fold forward. And this time, maybe continuing a little deeper. Release the hands to the floor. Step back to plank. Maybe knees lower down, maybe they don't. Elbows draw back. Glutes are engaged. Abdominals are drawing in toward the back to lower. Inhaling, cobra. Back body active, back body engaged. Your exhale, press back. Downward facing dog. So what I usually see in three-legged dog is like, woo, is whip. Let's go slow and intentional instead. And stop when going any further would mean opening the hips. So we're keeping hips level here. Shifting forward, hips stay high, hug the leg in, place the foot between the hands, scoot the back foot in so you can root it down and rise up. Hips are square, meaning both hips or front of your pelvis point forward. Dragging the front foot back into the floor will help that, as will turning on this back glute, rolling this back hip forward. Arms reach up alongside the ears. Exhale, keep this line of energy from the sacrum to the fingertips. Fold forward halfway. Inhaling back up. Each time you come up, like reaffirm what's happening from your feet through the floor, or from the floor through your feet, all the way up to legs and hips. Okay, and then next time you come up, you could keep your arms where they are and they eventually come to blocks or floor, or hands to hips. If so, the elbows are hugging back, or hands to fists together. Sometimes that's more accessible if hands in prayer doesn't work for your wrists. Take a breath in, floor, feet, legs, hips, all the way up to the abdominals. Folding forward. Go slow. Staying in the stretch. Carefully releasing hands to the floor. Step back to plank pose. Lower with control. So if your glutes are engaged and your core is engaged, then there's no sagging through the hips. Lowering all the way down. One more time for a cobra, bhujangasana. We're not trying to straighten the arms here. And pressing back to downward facing dog. Walk your feet up toward your hands. And then rising up all the way up. Hands coming to Anjali Mudra at heart center. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Exhale, probably possibly bending the knees at least to some degree, Uttanasana. Try not to sink back here. Yeah, so you can soften the knees if you tend to lock. Send your inner thighs back. If you're straightening the legs, let your head go. And an inhalation, lift up about halfway, send the chest forward and draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Plant your hands, stepping back to plank pose. Lowering all the way down. Inhale to cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Moving slowly with intention. Right leg into three-legged dog. Hips stay level. Exhale, shift forward. Right foot plants between the hands. This time we're coming to revolved triangle. You might want to block to the outside of your right foot. Scoot the back foot in so the heel can land. Rising up. Same foundation as we just had for pyramid. So let's inhale. Let's inhale both arms up. We usually just do the one, but we'll reach both arms up. Really feel the scissoring of the hips from the floor, through the feet, through the legs. Exhale, fold halfway. And then just bring your left hand down to the block and your right hand to, let's go back of to a sacrum. You can go front or back hand. Okay, let's try not to be down here. It's a lot harder to twist when you're in that deeper hip hinge. So we're staying, with the torso parallel to the floor. And then before you twist, lengthen through the right side of the waist. So what happens often is this right hip kind of crunches up. Dark clothing, probably hard to see. The right hip kind of crunches up toward the right side of the rib cage. So we really want to draw that back toward the foot edge of your mat and stretch your chest forward. And then from your belly, not from your hips. So hips stay level. Hand can help find that, confirm that. We're turning through the ribs. You can even lean your torso back a little bit. Keep your chin kind of tucked in. Gaze can stay down. And then when you find the rotation as much as you can from your center, then extend through your arm. You engage Mula Bandha, drawing in and up with the pelvic floor, and draw your abdominals toward your back. So abdominals in. Probably have a little more freedom in your twist. Unwind your spine. Step back to plank pose. Lower with control. All the way down. Inhale, cobra. Really take your time. Make sure you're engaging the back. Engaging the back body, meaning glutes, posterior chain. Your exhale, press back. Downward facing dog. Hips stay level. Slowly bringing the left leg up and back to three-legged dog. Shift forward. Hug the leg in. Try to use control to place the foot between the hands. Bring the block to the outside of the left foot, your front foot. And step your back foot in to ground through the heel, rising up. Make sure the right hip is not behind the left hip. It's gonna make it harder to twist. Feeling this engagement from your feet in the floor, transferring through your legs into your hips, stretching both arms up. We're really reaching here. We're not pulling the shoulders down away from the ears. That's just not the way the body moves, or not the way body naturally moves. Folding forward just halfway, so head staying in line with the arms. Then bringing right hand to the block and left hand to the sacrum. Make sure your left hip hasn't come forward. Bring it back, kind of yawn open the space between the hip and the ribs. You can be applying pressure of the hand into the block. Turning through the ribs, it's through the spine, but you feel the ribs rotating, of course, along with the spine. We're not lifting the left hip here, yeah? Bring it down. Turning through the ribs, through the spine, taking the shoulder back, then maybe extending through the arm. Let's just do gaze down, chin slightly tucked. Engage Mula Bandha, so draw in and up with the pelvic floor and draw your abdominals inward. Navel, right and left of the navel, above and below the navel. So basically the whole like abdominal wall below the ribs and above the pelvis. Draw that toward the back. See if that gives you a little more freedom in your twist. Unwind. Step back to plank. One more time, same vinyasa. We're lowering down, all the way down. Inhaling to cobra. Exhale. Keep reaching the elbows back, especially if you're coming to push up and then to down dog. It's like reverse push up, chaturanga. From here, let's walk the hands back toward the feet and see if you can really get movement through the shoulder blades as you do. Hands walking back till you're in Uttanasana, standing forward bend at the back of your mat. Catching inhalation to rise. And exhale, Samasthiti, standing with equanimity. Okay, so from here we're going to come into chair and then we're going to add a twist in our chair. You could bring big toes to touch and have heels a little bit apart, or you could have feet hips width apart. Just be mindful if the feet are apart, the knees aren't coming together. If the feet are together, the knees can be close, they're not winging out. So let's start by stretching the arms forward and reach the arms forward. So feel how the shoulder blades move on the back here when you do that. Keep that reaching action. Excuse me. Hips go back and down as the torso comes forward. See if you can keep this this line of energy. Like you have a lumbar curve, but back, skull, and sacrum are in line. Rather than like a big arch here. I mean, I guess they're still in line, but so ribs in, abdominals drawing back, and then you could take your arms alongside your ears. Really reach through the arms, everybody. Slowly rooting, especially through the heels, to rise up. And let the arms release down alongside your body. Okay, now we'll add a rotation. We'll twist to the left first. So stretch your right arm up, really reach the arm. And then as you bend your knees, hook the elbow to the outside of the knee and join the hand in prayer. Let's bring the gaze down. Keep the hips level. Yeah, so we're not letting this hip lift in order to help us twist more. Returning through the belly, through the ribs. The spinal twist. Here too, you can try drawing the pelvic floor in and up and bringing the abdominals back. So in toward the back body. You might lean the torso back a little bit away from the hands. Unwind and rise to stand. Second side, stretching left arm up, really reach through the arm. Feel the length you can find through the left side. Bend the knees, hook the elbow to the outside of the knee, joining the hands in prayer. Gaze is down. I just kind of caught myself, the hips kind of swaying over to the left. So see if you can bring the hips into the midline, turning through your belly, through your center, through the ribs, heart rising, shoulders down the back, Mula Bandha, and deep core. And try leaning the torso a little back away from the hands. So they don't have to be right up against the heart. Unwind, rising to stand. You can roll out the wrists if they're a little sensitive. In Tadasana, mountain pose. Okay, we're gonna do a little work with Virasana, Hero, and maybe Supta Virasana. We're headed toward wheel this it's evening for me, whatever it is for you. So this might be a seat, it might be supine. So gather your helpers, your props. And maybe let's just start in a seat. You can use a block, unless it's easy for you to come all the way down into Hero's pose without. So the way I like to teach and practice it is the feet are just outside the hips. I roll the fleshy part of my calves out to the side. So if I don't use any support, my sitting bones are just kind of hovering off the floor. That's today anyway. So you can use a block or a pillow or a blanket so that the sitting bones are actually grounded. Just check out your feet, that the toes are pointing back, not in. So the ankles are straight, and you can use your hands, use your fingers to spread your toes. And if you can have your knees hips width apart, do that. If that's aggravating for your knees, you can take them a bit wider apart. And let's just be here for a few breaths. And then maybe coming more back, I say, because it might not be all the way back. Some of you can come all the way onto your back, no problem. So that's an option. Some find sitting on the support and then lying back works better. I find I have to take that away. And then you can use your bolster a lot of different ways, of course. So you can have it supporting the length of your spine. You can have it just underneath the shoulders. What I like about that is that then I'm not asking for more of a back bend from my body, because we really want to make this more about stretching the quads and the front of the hips versus coming into a big archy back bend where the pelvis is tilting. Okay, so most of us, the majority of the population has excessive anterior tilt. And then we've got tight hip flexors. I mean, I'm in this crowd. So to do more of that isn't really going to change our asymmetry. So you could just be here on forearms, on elbows like I am, or you can come all the way back. I'm tighter in this pose these days, so I'm just taking it a bit easier. Please don't force your body to do something that doesn't feel nourishing. This isn't no pain, no gain. This is like no discomfort, less gain, something like that. So we want to be a little uncomfortable, right? We want to feel something. We could try engaging the glutes. You might be feeling this all in the quads and even like the tops of the knees where rectus femoris goes over the knee. I think I said that right. Just gonna feel it where you need to feel it. Feel it in that first barrier in your body. So let's be here for just a few more breaths. I'll get quiet. If you reclined back, you can start to come up carefully, gently. And then I'm going to take a half hero from here. So that means we're just going to untuck one leg. And let's keep that foot planted. So again, you could remain seated upright. You could lie back partially. Could lie back all the way. It's more balancing for the sacrum to keep this foot planted. Unless you're all the way down with your back flat, then you could straighten out the leg. But then if you're not all the way back, like me, see how that kind of like allows the hips to tilt to one side more. So if we have the foot planted, we can be a little bit more centered. Maybe eyes are closed here. A few more breaths. 3-dimensional breath. If you went into the supine variation, carefully come up. And we'll switch legs. Might have to just stretch out the leg for a moment. And then find your hero's shape. The other leg. The free foot is planted unless you're all the way back with little support or no support and you feel really centered. I mean, see how it works for you. The side might feel different, probably. Breath is in the foreground. Last couple of breaths here. And if you were all the way back or somewhat back, just carefully, slowly come up. We never want to jar ourselves out or come quickly out of these longer, deeper stretches. You can just stretch the legs out for a moment. And then we're going to do a supported bridge with the block on the high setting. If that's a no-go for you, maybe just try the higher setting than you normally do, or maybe you can put a blanket on top of the block so you have a little extra height. And then we're going to try to get a lean with the block. So rather than having it be flat, we're going to try to have it like lean a little bit. That's going to create a little more length for the lower back. So the block's going to be on the ground, obviously, but this far edge of the block can tip up away from the ground. Okay. Lying on your back, feet are planted. Root down to your feet, peel the spine, the hips up. Might have to come up to tippy toes to get the block there. It's underneath the sacrum. It's not underneath the lower back. And it's not down too low underneath like the fleshy part of your buttocks. So really just above your butt crack, to be crude, I guess. And then feet are planted here. Feet can be kind of wide. I like my feet wide personally a little bit in this shape. And then just lean, just kind of your body leans, slides a little bit towards your head, and see how the far bottom edge of the block can tip up. It's not huge, right? We don't want to go too far and slip right off. And see how that gives your lower back a little bit more of a lengthening. So you can feel into the floor through each toe, through the big toe mounds. Try not to let the knees wing out to the side. And the hips are supported, but you can still squeeze the glutes, right? Just like when we started, engaging the glutes is going to help protect the back and support the back. Breathing here. And with your exhales, see if you can invite the ribs, the front ribs, to move in toward the midline, down toward the floor, and down toward your waist. So we can focus the stretch and the opening more in the hip flexors and less in the ribs flaring up. Less back bend, really, more hip opening. You can take your hands to the front of your ribs for a little feedback and a little guidance. Exhaling, ribs in toward the midline, down toward the floor, down toward the waist. Glutes engaged too. Well, that's gonna be nicer for the back. Try not to lose the rib action when you inhale. It's just easier to find with the exhale. So it's supported bridge, but I'm still working pretty hard here. Just a few more breaths here. If you're getting knee pain, you could turn the toes out. So knee pain, feet wider and or toes out. And then if you need to, lift your heels, come up onto your tippy toes to remove the block and see if you can slowly lower, roll through your spine, articulate down to the pelvis. And let's just stretch the legs out for a moment into Shavasana. Notice what you notice. When you're ready to move again, bend your knees, roll to your side, come back to all fours, hands and knees. And then down onto the forearms. I'm setting up for dolphin here. Elbows are directly beneath the shoulders, and let's keep them there rather than letting the shoulders drift back. Hands shoulder width apart, palms down. Spread the fingers, root through each finger, root through inner wrists, root through the forearms, root through the elbows, and feel that lifting and broadening action between the shoulder blades. So it's like a little cat in the upper back. Tuck the toes under, lift the hips up, and then just double check that your shoulders are still directly over your elbows. And you're pushing the heck out of the floor. You're pushing the elbows and the forearms and the hands. You can let the head hang here. Knees can certainly be bent. Keep lifting from the lower belly up. Lower down onto your knees. Let your hips drift back to your heels. Child's pose, maybe stack the hands, rest the head on the hands. Coming back to the forearms. Elbows beneath the shoulders. See if you can have your hands shoulder width apart too. So very often the elbows end up wide, the hands end up together. We don't want that. Tons of rooting through the forearms. Feel the shoulders lift away from the floor. Toes tuck under, hips lift up, shoulders stay directly over the elbows. Now we're going to lift one leg up, keeping the hips level. So not letting the leg externally rotate. Lift from the inner thigh. Keep pushing down with your elbows. Head can hang here. Reaching through the legs. Lower the leg down. Remember, knees can be bent. Other leg up. Push the floor with the elbows. Let the head go. My neck keeps trying to do something. Energy through the leg. Keep lifting from the lower belly. Push the floor away more with your elbows. Lower the foot down. Lower the knees down. Child's pose. Maybe arms come alongside the body. Rising up to all fours. And really establish your foundation through your hands. Toes tuck under, downward facing dog. Knees can be bent. Remember, our priority is long spine, not heels down. Feet or hips width apart. You could bring actually, for this, if you want to bring big toes together, you can. Pushing the floor away, not sinking into the chest. Hips stay level. Stretch one leg up and back into three-legged dog. Keep the hips level. I think I already said that. I always see the hips opening. Not wrong, just not what we're doing. We're working more on stability here. And of course, gaining flexibility in the process. Push the floor away. Dial the hands outward. Feel how getting that action of hands dialing outward makes a difference in your shoulders. Lower the foot down, go slow, other leg up. So one way to tell if the hips are level are the toes pointing out to the side, then they're not. I mean, it'd be weird to have the hips level and the toes out. So toes point down, lift from the inner thigh. You can think about lifting the opposite hip of the grounded leg. That might help. Lower the leg down. And then let's walk the hands back to the feet. Feet hip width apart, hands under feet. So Padahastasana. You can definitely bend the knees here, especially if you're having trouble getting any part of the hand under the foot. Bend the knees. Let the head go. Stretching through the forearms. Now keep the hands under the feet, but flip them so the palms are down, fingers point back toward the heels, and thumb points out, thumbs point out. Depending on your flexibility, you might bend the elbows to find sensation. Free your hands out from underneath your feet and rise to stand. Okay, yeah, let's come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, about halfway up, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Step back to plank pose. We're going to come into up dog, but just maybe differently than you normally do it. So hold your plank shape and just untuck your toes. So I'm still in plank. The hips aren't dropping, everybody. So hips are lifted, glutes are active. Mula Bandha, abdominal wall, hands dialing outward. And then slowly, just a little bit, lower your hips down and start to lift your chest. And imagine you could drag your hands back toward your feet. So legs are really engaged here, are not collapsing anywhere. Untuck the toes from the lower belly, lift up, downward facing dog. Let's three-legged dog it again, because we have been. Hips level, moving with intention. Sending the leg up and back into three-legged dog, and then shift forward, tuck in, hips high, place the foot between the hands, runner's lunge. We're going to scoot the back foot in a little bit, so we're in this shorter stance, and then come up. From here, check if your pelvis is level, is neutral, or if it's tipping forward. So bend your back knee if you need to, or if it's helpful to get level pelvis, yeah? So pubic bone and 2 points of the front of the pelvis are vertical rather than pubic bone dropping back. And then let's bend the front knees, stack it with the ankle, hands to the hips, and just slowly lower the knee down. You can almost touch the ground or just barely tap, and then come back up. Keep the neutral pelvis. Do that a few more times. It's a straight down action, and the spine is upright. Rooting through big toe, front foot, big toe mound. So when the knee comes down, it's pretty much directly underneath the hip. You can shorten your stride if it's way back behind you. One more time. We have the scissoring action here too, yeah? So this front foot is dragging back. The back glute is on for sure. And then let's keep the back leg straight. You can creep it back a little bit so the foot is more vertical, if the foot's okay with that. Front knee is bent, pelvis is neutral. So the back knee could stay bent. And you can also or experiment with pushing the heel back. And then stretch the arms up. Bring your hands down to the ground. Step back to plank pose. Untuck your toes. Engage glutes, engage inner thighs. Mula bandha. Abdominals draw back. Slowly lowering the hips. Imagine you could drag your hands back. They're externally rotating too, yeah? Chest rising. Tuck toes. From the belly, lift up, downward facing dog. Hips are level, moving slowly, left leg or whatever your second side is, three-legged dog. Shift forward with control if you can. Place the foot between the hands. Runner's lunge. Scoot the back foot in a bit. And rise up. Hands to the hips. Find your neutral pelvis. You might have to bend the knee to do so. And then we're going to bend the front knees, stack it pretty much with the ankle. It could come forward a little bit. It's okay. Keep the pelvis neutral. Keep the spine upright. Slowly lower the knee down. You can almost tap or just hover and then come back up. Go straight down. One more time. And then we'll keep the front knee bent. Back knee could be bent, or you can push to the heel. You could walk the foot back a little bit more. So really opening up plantar fascia by having the foot more vertical, the sole more vertical. And then stretch the arms up. It's a little bit of a weird short lunge. Squeeze the back glute, drag the front foot back without moving it. Reach, reach, reach through your arms. hands touch down. One more time, we're stepping back to plank pose. Untuck the toes. Press the tops of the feet into the ground. Squeeze your buttocks. Engage your inner thighs. Hands are externally rotating, or it's really the shoulders, but it could be from the floor, through the hands, chest rising. Tuck toes under, downward facing dog. Let's lower down onto the knees for Urdhva camel pose. So if you've got a bolster you want to use, we're going to do one with, one without. We're also potentially going to use a belt in a loop for the second one. So if you want to have that handy, you can get that rolling, get that ready. If you didn't already. So if you would like to use the bolster, it's on top of the calves. And you can be flat onto your feet, pressing the tops of the feet down. Engage the heck out of your glutes, so like tuck under for sure here. And then no back bend here initially, just hinge back by deepening the crease of the knees and then come back up. Try that again, just hinge back. Buttocks engaged, super important. I keep saying it because we forget about it, or we're not doing it, or we are doing it and then we lose it. Good, so you could stay with that if that's feeling like what you need, or we hinge back, bring the hands to the bolster. Thumbs are out to the sides, away from each other. Fingers are back. We don't want to be the other way. We want that external rotation in the shoulders. Really tuck your booty under as much as you can. And then if you want to add a lift through the sternum, then do so. Carefully coming back up. Sit onto your heels, maybe onto the bolster. And just pause. If you'd like to use the belt for the second round, it's in a loop. Okay, you use the buckle so the loop doesn't move. Some people put the loop in, but the buckle's not in use, and then it doesn't work. And then you can step into it, or maybe easier, just you can hold your shape and bring it over your whole body, sit up, and bring it down to your, let's say mid-thighs. Down to the mid-thighs, and then cinch it up so you've got tension. Not crazy tension, just this sense of containment. Maybe removing the bolster at this point for a second, Urdhva camel, maybe keeping it. I really drive the knees down into the floor also. I feel like that automatically turns on posterior chain. So tops of feet are pressing down, knees are pressing down. And you can kind of break away into the belt. Hinge back, bring your hands to the bolster or your heels. Tuck under even more, really tuck the booty under. And stay right here without adding any more spinal extension or any spinal extension, or lifting the chest up. Keep pressing the hips forward as well. Not like crazy, just a bit. And then rise up and sit back onto heels or bolster, whatever's there, and loosen the belt. Close your eyes, be with your breath. Okay, we're gonna work on wheel pose. Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward bow. You might use the belt again. We're gonna maybe do a couple rounds of this. Or maybe not at all. Maybe we'll do a variation with the bolster. So I'll show that first, and you can join me if you like. That's good for just starting to create some space and the right actions in the shoulders. So we're sitting on the bolster, and the head's not on the bolster. And we're bringing the hands alongside the head, or maybe if you can, more alongside the shoulders. So it could be a little wider than the shoulders. We want to try to have the fingers pointing towards the feet edge of the mat. Some people need to turn the hands out more to make that work, to get the elbows moving in. So that's something you can experiment with. For me, I like to have my fingers pointing straight. You've got to root your whole hand. So turning the hands out, if that helps you root the whole hand, is one way to go about it. I honestly haven't done it that way because my body doesn't need that variation. It needs plenty of other modifications. Just doesn't need that one. So fingers are spread, elbows are drawing in toward each other. They can't be winging out. So elbows are in and elbows are reaching back behind you. And you could just hold this, or you could keep one arm in that shape and use the other hand onto the elbow to draw the elbow in and then send it back. So the shoulder's going to lift off the ground when you do that. I feel like it's a really good way to feel the actions that we're going for in wheel pose. So elbow in and elbow back behind you. You could do this on the floor. The bolster's just nice and maybe gives you a little boost into the shape. And then if you did that with one arm, do it with the other arm. So really take care to place your hand, right? The foundation is most important. And then your free hand brings the elbow in toward you. So the elbow is pointing back behind you, and then you can press on the upper arm just above the elbow to help the elbow reach back behind you overhead. Breathing into the back. Okay, and then we'll place both hands in the same shape again. Elbows in. If you want to come up here, elbows are in, feet are grounded. We're going to first come up onto the top of the head. So really placing your feet. I like my feet wider than my hips personally. You can come up onto the top of the head first and then push all the way up. It's a little weird with the bolster there. And then slowly lower down. Be sure you tuck your chin. It's not as important if you're coming down onto the bolster, but if you're coming flat onto the ground, you gotta really tuck your chin. I normally come onto the top of my head first, but with the bolster there, I find that a little harder. I don't usually use the bolster, but it's a nice way to just be a little bit closer to coming up. Yeah. So we'll take one more round potentially, or if you're working on that arm action, then that's super valuable too, to have both arms in and up, elbows in and up, or continuing doing a couple rounds of one hand helping the other elbow in and up. Maybe you set the bolster aside now for second round. Maybe you use the belt around mid thighs. This isn't my favorite modification, but for some folks, it's really great. For some people, it's going to feel good on the back. So we want to snug it up, but we don't want the legs together. Yeah, we want the feet to be at least hip width apart and potentially wider apart. And even if you're not coming into the whole pose, right, you can just use elements of what I'm suggesting and play with them. It's all really valuable. Props aren't crutches, they're tools. Okay, so maybe coming up into our second round here. Intentionally grounding through the feet, through the hands, elbows in. We want the arms to be parallel to one another. And then you can press your hands and feet, come up onto your head, and then maybe you can kind of reset your hands and come all the way up. The belt actually feels good today. So I'm pushing into the belt, that's just happening because it's there. Glutes are engaged. And then slowly lowering, be sure you tuck your chin and lower down with care. From here, we'll remove the belt, but you can have it handy. And just take a moment to be here on your back. You can have straight legs or planted feet, maybe circling out the wrists. Both directions. And then we'll take Supta Padangusthasana across the midline variations. You might want your belt for this. Let's take the belt around the left foot, left leg up. Hold the belt in the right hand. Bring your left arm out to a T with the palm down. And then don't be in a hurry to just let the leg drop all the way over. See if you can bring the leg across and keep the pelvis relatively level here first. So maybe you want to stay here, or you can slowly, gradually take the leg further across the midline. It's more balancing for your sacrum to not let the foot drop all the way down. You can keep the leg parallel. You could slide a block to go underneath your foot. And we want to keep the left shoulder down, everybody. Really breathe into the back ribs here. And bend the knee and release. Second side. Take the belt around the right foot. We use the belt so that we don't lose the shoulder. Yeah. So we want to keep the head of the arm bone plugged into the shoulder socket. If you don't have a belt at home, you can use towel, t-shirt, scarf. The belt around the right foot, holding with the left hand, and right arm out to the T, palm down, and just go a little bit across first, and see what you find through the IT band and the outer hip. And then maybe stay there. Maybe the right hip comes up, but right shoulder stays down. Keep the right leg parallel to the floor rather than letting the foot come down. Maybe slide a block under the foot if you want some support. Turning the belly to the right. Bend the knee and release. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do Supta Dandasana. So if you still have the loop in your belt, you've got that kind of a setup, we're gonna have a small loop, take it around both feet. And for now, just legs up to vertical. You can hold the tail with both hands and have your feet right together. This isn't a big stretch necessarily. Pelvis is neutral here, so that pubic bone and the two frontal hip points from the pelvis are level, they're flat. That might mean legs are further away rather than vertical. And there's definitely a small space between the lower back and the floor. And then if your loop is big enough, or you can just make it a little bit looser, separate your feet hip width apart. You don't need to be using the loop, but it's nice. And our next little exploration here is an option to use the tail. So feet are hip width apart, and if the feet are in the, if your feet are in the loop, then you can be pushing the feet outward. Good for the outer hips. Still have that little bit of space between the lower back and the floor. And then make the loop a little bit bigger, or slide your feet a little further apart so they're mat width apart, the short measure of your mat. And still just vertical, still neutral pelvis, still a little space between spine and floor. And then if you want to use the tail here, we take it in both hands, and if your belt's long enough, and we bring the arms overhead. So feet are pushing outward into the belt. Hands are pulling a little bit on the belt and reaching overhead. And then release, flop for the outer hips. And we'll take a Supta Sukhasana, so cross at your shins, like so. And reach for your feet. And then draw the knees down, draw the elbows down to bring the legs in toward you. You could still have neutral pelvis. That's probably a good idea. Inner ankles open. Switch the cross of the legs. And then release. If you're working with a bolster, you can take it underneath your thighs for Shavasana. You can roll a blanket to go underneath your knees. Now just resting. And coming back into the river of breath. And begin to reawaken your body, move your fingers and your toes, wrists and ankles, arms and legs. And then when you feel ready, you can gently rise up to a seat. And bring hands palms together at heart center. Joining me in the chant Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take a breath in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you.